Welcome to Furious Fiction. I'm Jules Graham, and with me is Mark Mustian. Who are we talking to today?
We're talking to A.M. Holmes. She's the author of May We Be Forgiven and a number of other works. And A.M., welcome. Glad you could be with us.
Thanks for having me.
I wanted to ask you, she's also the author of this wonderful short story about Ronald and Nancy Reagan. And May We Be Forgiven, there's the main character is a Nixonologist. He researches Nixon. So, A.M., do you have anything for dead Republican presidents? I mean, is there a Gerald Ford anything coming here?
I don't have a Gerald Ford story coming. I can tell you that. I think that both Reagan and Nixon are very kind of interesting to me, and I'm really increasingly interested in the interplay between fact and fiction. The thing about Reagan in the short story Former First Lady and the Football Hero that I loved was the notion of writing about a president who really was losing his memory at a time when I think America is losing its memory. So they are very much related, the Nixon and the Reagan stories, yes.
Can I ask you, just in this, again, the main character, as you're researching this, he comes upon this, is provided access to this trove of Nixon short stories, okay?
Yes.
And Julie Nixon Eisenhower kind of grants access to this. Have you heard anything from her? Did you interact from her? Or has she been calling, going, what's up with this?
No, I fortunately, at the moment, have not yet heard from Julie Nixon Eisenhower. But about the Reagan story, there was actually one of the Reagan cabinet members went into a bookstore in Pennsylvania and said, who is this A.M. Holmes character, and how does she know everything she knows? Because she got it all right. And I took that as an incredibly high compliment.
Well, I would say so.
Well, A.M. Harold, poor guy, has a tough time. But I'm interested because he's never at a loss for words. No matter what's thrown at him, he always has sort of a four-word declarative, some sort of statement to make. He's never silent, and that sort of interested me.
Well, I think it's hard to, how do you depict silent in a novel that's told in the first person? Do you know what I mean?
But he does, yes, of course, but he doesn't even think about being speechless. It doesn't ever occur to him, and so many of the situations are outrageous, and I feel so bad for him.
Yeah. I think also that Harry is somebody who's got a lot going on always in his mind, and if it's not a outright monologue, it's going to be some, huge thought bubble for him.
And did you find he's strangely trusting of people, considering his bad luck?
Yeah, but I also think that he's at a point that there's nothing to be lost by trusting people. Everything is as bad as it can get.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, and the whole kind of Cain and Abel thing, with he and his brother, because his brother is not a very great guy. Was there a spark? I'm not asking if you had a Cain or Abel in the family, but how did that work? How did you come up with that?
Well, it's really, I don't have a Cain or Abel in my family, but I'd always been very interested in the intensity of that relationship between brothers. And the obvious examples are obviously Cain and Abel and Steinbeck's East of Eden. Also, John Cheever's relationship with his brother Fred, which I think of as very kind of both competitive and passionate and intense. So I wanted to kind of explore that.
I had one other question. I'm a big fan of your novel, This Book May Save Your Life. And which is all West Coast, and I was thinking for whatever reason that you lived on the West Coast, but do you live in New York? Because this book is all kind of New York. So, tell us how all that worked.
Yeah, I do live in New York. To write This Book Will Save Your Life, I spent a lot of time in Los Angeles.
Right.
I actually wrote a book for National Geographic about the city of Los Angeles, and I knew I wanted to write something that was set there because I find it a sort of a fascinating city that on the one hand also has this kind of, people say it's great, they live there for the weather, and I think which part of the weather? The earthquakes, the floods, the fires, like what's the great part? So it's an interesting place, and I do a lot of research. The thing is, I have not written my Florida book yet.
Well, good.
Come on down.
We need it. I wish we could go on for another 20 minutes here because this was really fun. But A.M., thank you so much for doing it. Her book is May We Be Forgiven.
Wonderful. Great cover, too.
Thank you.
Join us next time for Furious Fiction.